welcome to the Declassified Cheatcodes podcast. I am your host, Josiah, and I'm joined here with...
Hill House.
Hi.
I fucked up.
It's really easy to talk over each other.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good. We're professionals. We have licenses to be professional. So podcasting is like super easy for us. And this is just us having a conversation.
Pretty much.
So a lot going on this week as far as gaming news goes. Not any big controversies really as much as previous weeks. There's a few that we'll probably do bigger pieces on next week when we get more sources and data on it. But as far as this week in gaming, we just got a bunch of little news blurbs because a lot of the developers are kind of holding all their things out for E3 because what are we, 2-3 weeks away?
Yeah, about I think
it's like
about
the
3
week of
weeks.
the 9th, right?
Yeah, so we're about 3 weeks away.
Yeah, I think so. You been playing any new games this week?
Yeah, I have actually. I've been playing a couple of new ones that I've been kind of getting into. I've been getting bored playing the same old things, so I've been looking at some of these lower end indie games, and I just played American Fugitive. Did a stream on that the other day, and
I caught a little bit of that. It looked pretty interesting.
Yeah, actually, it surprised me because I've really not been a fan of GTA type games or anything where you can't like zoom into your character, that kind of thing. But I actually started getting into this. I had a good time. It was a lot of fun. You basically, it's a typical, GTA type of game. That's really the only other game that I can think of off the top of my head that besides Retro City, something like that.
It's funny you say GTA because isn't it like a top-down game?
Yes.
So it's kind of like GTA 1.
Yeah, it's
The
old
first
school.
one.
You're talking like Chinatown Wars. It's old GTA. It's and that's what it reminds me of. But I don't really fall for that kind of game, but I fell into it really quick. I liked it. I started getting into it and having a lot of fun. And you start off as a guy named Will, and you get framed for killing your father and have to basically break out of prison. And you start doing little quest things. You meet up with your I believe it's your uncle, and you start doing things like you did back in the day with GTA. You go on crime sprees, and you do jobs, and you make money, and the whole time you're supposed to try to stay away from the cops and keep on your mission and keep on target. And it's the thing that got me about it is that what I found interesting about it was the dynamic of trying to stay away from the police and trying to stay away from being noticed and be able to complete your mission and get back to where you got to be. It was more engaging, I thought, than even the newer GTA. I started playing that a while back and didn't really enjoy it, but this one I did, and I think I'm actually going to stick with it and finish the game 100%. It's got me that enthralled.
I got a couple of things to say about that. As far as GTA 5 goes, I really do enjoy the story mode of that game. I never could get into the online.
Yeah, that's
version.
the part that I'm really talking about, is that kind of that open world sense in the
it was
online.
too open, it was too sandbox, and it was too limited. The story mode in GTA 5 is fantastic. It has better graphics, better rendering, because it doesn't have to have a bunch of people in a server.
Yes.
So it looks fantastic. It's a really great story on that game. It's really hard to put down. That's really hard to put down because you just keep having missions, and the fact that you play as 3 different characters gives it so much variety.
Yeah.
But talking about American Fugitive, that was the name of it, right?
Yes, American Fugitive.
Okay. I don't play many top-down games. Was it a turn-based, or was it still free roam? You could still just roam around, or was it
you could still just roam around. Yeah, that's the thing. It is still a sandbox game. It is still an open world, and you are going to see other people doing things. But when you're conversating with somebody, when you're trying to get information on your mission, whatever it is to complete or start, you do have that kind of thing where you have to get through. You have to decide what to say. The things that you say are going to affect the outcome, and the things that you do are going to affect the outcome, just like those other sandbox games. But you
The
can
choose your destiny type things.
yeah, basically it's that
Yeah.
kind of a sense. That's how it feels, although it steers you in the direction that it wants you to go in order to complete the game.
That's cool. Do we know anything else by this developer?
Yeah, actually, there are a few other games that are by them, but I've
I don't
never played
recognize
them.
Fallen Tree games.
No, it's definitely a very indie company. It looks like a lot of the other things that they have are puzzle games, and they have a couple of mobile games. So it's basic like puzzle, get your thing through the maze, that kind of stuff. It's very simple graphics, simple gaming kind of stuff. So it's nothing that I've ever played before. It's not something that I'm into. This looks to be the actual big game for this company, to be honest with
It
you.
looks great. I like the art style. The art style is like
Yeah.
looks like a cell shading type art style. It's really
Yeah, it's kind of reminds
it's
me
not
of
dated, you know.
yeah, it's not dated. It kind of reminds me of damn it, the Borderlands kind of art style.
Yeah, that
It's
cell shading. It's got a little bit of that. So
it's
it
a little
looks kinda
reminiscent.
cartoonish.
Yeah, exactly. And but it is rough around the edges. It is going to take some patching. One of the things that I can't stand about the game, and but it doesn't make me not want to play it, is the way that the police just seem really, really easy to evade, and they're not smart at all. They're not. It's kind of sad when you can accidentally bump into a fence with your car, and all of a sudden you got a cop chasing you. It shouldn't be that
That
kind of
reminds
thing.
me of like GTA pre GTA 4.
Yeah,
Like that was like GTA Vice City. Like you could not do anything wrong.
you couldn't
Oh,
fart.
oh,
Yeah, you couldn't fart
yeah.
unless and they'd be
There was a worse
chasing you
game.
down the
It
street.
was Driver in the 90s on
Yeah.
PlayStation 1.
Oh, you're right.
I remember you could hit a tree or a pole or something.
Yeah, and all of a sudden
And the
somebody
cops would be
calls.
on you and be like, "Okay, cool. I got to now drive around." And you were like right next to where you needed to be.
And what's cool though is that, you can, let's say a witness sees you and you're wearing, obviously you don't want to be wearing the orange jumpsuit. I learned that really quick because I kept it on for quite a while.
No, you learned that in real life?
Yes, that's not
Okay.
something you want to do. Even if you're driving, they're going to say, hey, there's the guy in the orange jumpsuit, and they're going to end up chasing you. But one of the things that I did notice is that if you find a house that's got a clothesline behind it, and there was a witness who saw you in a blue T-shirt and black pants, well, you can go over there and you can throw on a frickin' red dress, and now you're just some dude in a red dress. You're not recognizable, and so you do have other options like that. So the game did capture me that way. It excited me to want to play it again. And to me, that's the biggest part of it. It's just like a book or a movie. If I'm not caught in the first couple of pages or the first few minutes, I'm not going to continue to watch it or read it or play it if it's a game. So, yeah.
Yeah, and recycled mechanics are such a crutch that
Yes.
takes down games, especially
Yes.
indie games. As ambitious as an indie game can be, if they use entirely recycled mechanics, the player will feel like they've played the game before. You'll have
Yes.
Assassin's Creed 20 syndrome.
Exactly.
And and that's really cool. I didn't see that clothesline thing, but that's really cool because there's games like Prison Break and The Escapist.
Yes.
There's games where you use tools like changing clothes to get around the guards and stuff, but this game is not placed in prison, right? This is outside.
This is outside. Yeah, it's an
See,
open
and that's what
world.
makes it different. That's different enough where it's like you're just running from the law. When games are either GTA, which is you can mind your own business and not go to jail, you can just drive around and do small tasks. You don't even have to be a
Exactly.
criminal in GTA 5.
Exactly.
However,
you could be a small-time criminal. You don't have to be some huge criminal, or you could. The choice is yours, and that's what I love about
Right.
this kind of game. Yes.
and the thing is, and things like The Escapist or what is the name? Is it Prison Architect? There's a game where it's another prison thing.
Oh, is that the one that you were playing recently?
No, then
the
there's
way
a way
out.
out. A way out's more of a story-based game, but
Oh, okay. Okay.
there are games where you're in prison, and then there's games where you can do things to get the cops on you. This game is like in between, is what it sounds like. It sounds like the cops are already looking for you, and you're just running from the law the whole time.
Yeah, they are looking for you because you have escaped from prison. So, yeah,
See, I
there
think
is
that's a
that.
cool setup because it means that that is the mechanic. The mechanic is you're running from the law, and I assume as the game progresses, there's just more ways to do that. You know,
Yeah. Yeah, there is.
that sounds really cool. I really want to check it out.
Yeah, it's a good game, man. I mean, I actually I enjoyed it, and I didn't expect to. That's the funny thing. So it took me by surprise, for sure.
That's cool. Actually, I'd never heard of the game until you were streaming it, and I saw the art style, and I was like, "Oh, what's this?" That's
Yeah.
why I sent you that message. I was like, "I appreciate it" or whatever I said.
Oh,
don't
I got
remember.
you.
It was like it was really refreshing to see something that wasn't Paladins or Overwatch.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I want to do is I don't want to get stagnant. So I'm gonna try to play a couple of newer different games and spend some time doing that and only spend a few
Yeah, I
hours into
played
the
a
ones that I
game
really love. You know.
this week for the first time. It's called The Coma,
Oh yeah.
and it's like a Korean, what do you call it? It's like a survival horror side-scrolling game, and it's Korean based. So you're in a school, and you're just basically running from ghosts and ghouls. I don't know the whole plot yet. I've played just a little bit of it. It's pretty cool though. It's got mechanics of hiding in lockers and stuff, and going to bathrooms and hiding in stalls. Like it's kind of a survival game like that.
Oh okay.
So far, it hasn't gotten that hard. I'm not sure if it's going to get really hard, but it's a pretty cool little game. It's just a little side scroller, and there's a bunch of backtracking. Oh my gosh. So far, that hasn't annoyed me, but it's built on backtracking so far. You go to places, people tell you to go somewhere else, and then you were already there, and then you got to get back there.
Oh
you know?
wow.
But that's kind of a survival horror thing because even Alien Isolation, that's a full 3D experience, it had the same thing. There's backtracking that would make you just basically just shit your pants when you were like, I can't believe I have to go through that area again. Like it was the most horrifying thing you've gone through in a game. And after you get through, you read a message or something where it tells you to go right back through it. And you're like, God damn it. But this game, so far it's doing that, but there hasn't been enough hard stuff where I'm like getting angry at it. So far it's just more of a lot of backtracking because it's the way it sets up. You have to get keys to doors.
Oh okay.
And then you got to go other places to find those keys. A bunch of hidden messages that you can only see with a flashlight, but if you use your flashlight, people can see you.
Okay.
It's an interesting little game. I think it was on sale for like $5 or $7 on Xbox last week.
Oh, wow.
So that's the only reason I picked it up.
Yeah, that's not bad.
It's not new by any means, but it's just a little indie title that I'd heard about for a while, and I wanted to check it out. But
So
that's about all I played this week, besides Overwatch, because Overwatch is the new event.
So what is it that they're running from exactly? I mean, what is the coma? Is that something that happens
I don't know
to
yet.
them? Or?
So basically in the beginning of the game, the main character, I guess, falls asleep and then is in like another dimension. So you start out in a school, but then he falls asleep and then suddenly the school's dark and everybody's dead. And then you're running around from these things that look like people you know, but are obviously not those people. I don't know. It's weird. It's so far in the first half hour of gameplay or hour that I did, it's just a bunch of characters saying things like, you don't want to know what's going on, or, oh, what, you don't know already? It's just a bunch of like people they're just avoiding the actual thing rather than just telling you what's going on. It gets kind of annoying in that sense, but I'm so used to it in games like that Like you'll find a new character and they'll be like, "Oh, I can't believe you're here," and you're like, "Where is here?" And they're like, "How do you not know?" You're like, "Oh my god."
How do you not know where you were at?
You're like, I obviously don't know. That's why I asked you.
Oh, wow.
But speaking of horror survival, I don't know much about Little Nightmares, but you were telling me that you were playing it this week too.
Yeah, actually, I'm still in the process of playing it.
I really want to play that game
it.
because, like, I assume I'm going to want 100% it because it just looks like a game that
Oh,
I
yeah.
really get into.
Yeah, there is some. What's nice about it is when I did buy it, I went ahead and I bought the big package, which was not very expensive at all. I think it maybe cost me $14, something like that, and it might have even been on sale, even less.
Yeah, I
than
think it was
that.
on sale a few weeks ago.
Yeah, and
I think the normal edition was like 7 or 8 or something stupid.
Yeah, and I think it was that amount when it was on sale. So it was like all these different download contents. It was really nice.
I know
that?
we haven't talked about what the game even is yet. I assume people might know already. But what's the DLC? Like, what's in the deluxe?
Basically, there's some different portions to the areas where you can go. The Scarecrow Sack is basically a costume. Upside Down Teapot is a costume. They've got one area called the Depths, where it's you start out and you're on this thing called the Maw, and you're out in the middle of the ocean. And the Depths is another part of the Maw, and the Hideaway is
So it's like new levels?
yeah, basically it's new areas of the ship is what it is. It's new areas. And then they also have
I guess that explains the raincoat. See, I didn't understand the design. So it's on a ship.
Yeah, I didn't understand it either until
Okay.
yeah, and I was like, okay, so why are they in a raincoat? And who
I thought
are
it was
they?
indoors. I thought it was like indoors,
Yes, you are
like-
indoors. You are indoors.
but still on a ship.
You're on a ship in the middle of the ocean.
Okay.
Yes. And you're a 9-year-old little girl named Six, and your job is to escape the Maw, which is this ship, and it's basically it's kind of like you enter a room on one side, and you know, I don't know what kind of a game you would call that, to be honest
You
with
try
you.
to get through the next room, so it's like a checkpoint based thing.
Yeah, and it's puzzle based.
Okay.
You have to figure your way through the room using the different objects. If you got to push crates over to a wall so you can reach a switch, just little things like that. Climbing a dresser to get to the top in order to get to a line so you can get to a window. You know,
Yeah,
you have
really
to
reminds
figure
me
it
of
out.
Unravel. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you were saying before. Yeah, and which I haven't played Unravel, but it's extremely creepy.
That's the thing. Unravel's the exact opposite.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
There's moments where Unravel is a little dark, but it's a pretty sunshiny game. It reminds me of Flower and Journey in a sense that it's just about the experience. But Little Nightmares looks like it took that concept of Unravel and just horrified it.
Oh yeah, and I'll tell you, it sometimes to me even it's extremely unsettling, the game, because you're sitting there trying to figure it out, and you know something's coming. You can hear it, and it sounds like it's almost like right behind you or something, and you're just trying to figure out this damn puzzle
So it's mostly,
to get out of the way.
is it mostly the audio that makes it scary? Because I've been playing a lot of games recently where the audio is the main thing. Where like if you turned off the audio and just were watching it, it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
No, unfortunately, no. There's so many shadows that move and things that happen that you are constantly keeping your eyes open. And it's so dark and gloomy that you can't always see these creatures or monsters that are basically there to kill you. I mean, that's all they're going to do. You're in your raincoat, you're on the ship, you're out in the middle of the ocean, and you're trying to figure out how to escape so that you can, get out of there and stay alive. And through the, when you're going through this thing, you run into these little thing called gnomes. To me, they look like garden gnomes.
Yeah.
And they kind of help you around, the ship, and they help you to do different things or give you clues as to what you're supposed to do. But
That's cool.
as you start moving through, these monsters have different things that are, about them to where you think, okay, this is going to be easy. Like there's one guy called the janitor, and he's blind, but he can smell everything. So you have to figure out a way to get past him without him smelling you and coming after you.
So this janitor cleans things by smelling things?
I don't know how he cleans things. That's just his name. He's the janitor.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like,
and
what if
he's blind?
How are you supposed to scrub something until you can see your face in it?
Exactly, man. Exactly. And he's got these super,
he only
super
cleans
long
things
arms.
that smell.
He's got these arms that are like 3 times the length of his body, right? And so that's the kind of monster that comes after you.
Jesus Christ.
But it's not just those. They also have security systems called the Eye. And if those see you, they'll just incinerate you immediately. So you have to, you stay inside the shadows. You zig, you zag, you wait until somebody leaves, and then you come out from under a bed. It's different ways that you have to adapt in order to escape these monsters and these alarm systems. I'm going to look up a picture of this
janitor. I'm really curious.
Oh, yeah. It's creepy, dude. When the first time I saw him, I was like, nah. And I hid under something. And he
my God.
inside one room and the other. But now here's the thing, though. Here's the creepiest part of this game for me. As you're getting through, you start discovering there's kids in cages.
There's kids what?
In cages. And some of these kids will help you, like throw you bread. There was one little kid who threw me a piece of bread, and so I ate it. And next thing I know, he's not there anymore, and he won't communicate with me or anything like that. He just threw me this bread, and you're trying to get, because you do have hunger pains, and it'll tell you, and it does affect you. So you do have to try to get something to eat when that happens. It doesn't happen a lot that I've noticed so far. But apparently these kids are being taken because they're processed into the meat that the chefs cook up for the guests on the ship.
Wow.
So these kids are being eaten and ground up into meat. And there's, going to be a spot where you see, bodies wrapped in sheets, and they're hanging from hooks on the ceilings. So, yeah.
I saw that. I saw the bodies hanging from the ceiling in a Let's Play, and I was like, oh, that looks horrifying.
Yeah. But it's so far, I love this game. I want to keep playing it. Actually, I'm probably going to stream some of that tomorrow. And it's very creepy. It's, to be honest with you, it's something I don't play alone at night with the lights off, just because, I'll end up looking behind me all the time. And yeah.
Well, I'm kind of disappointed. I looked up images of the janitor, and then I had the gumption to put in the word sexy to see if somebody sexified him, and I didn't see anything.
Oh,
so I was a little disappointed by that. Yeah,
I don't think you could sexify some of these things.
You'd be surprised what you can, but anyway.
Now there is a main character that I've heard about. I didn't look up any spoilers or anything like that, because I don't want to be spoiled with the game. I don't want to know how it ends. I just want to play it and try to beat it.
Same, because I really want to play it, so don't spoil it for me either.
No, not at all. And I, when I did my research further into the game to find out about Tarsier Studios and what else they make and whatnot, that's one of the things. I wanted to get a recap of the game, but only as far as what I've played so far. And, just a little bit into it with the cutaway scenes and the commercials or trailers that I've seen about the game. But I can tell you that, it's it's creepy and it's fun and it's worth it. It's 100% worth it. If it's something that you're thinking about trying and buying, I recommend it 100%. 100%. That and American Fugitive, to be honest with you. If you want to waste a little bit of money and get some games, those are two of the funnest games that I've played recently. There's a new one that I'm going to be trying out that I'm going to talk about next week that's called Dauntless. That looks like it's going to be a very big up-and-coming game, and it's going to be comparative to quite a few. But yeah, as far as these two games, Little Nightmares and American Fugitive, I recommend them 100%. Get them, try them. You'll probably love them.
Yeah, that's why I want to start streaming off my Xbox too, because I have so many indie titles on there, and I
Oh
hardly
God,
ever see
yeah.
people streaming indie titles.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, and that's one of the things that I would like to do a little bit more of too. Some of the throwback games too, you know.
Yeah, I can always appreciate someone who doesn't stream a game in the top 10 most
Yes,
watched things on Twitch.
yes. Just because it's popular in
Even
the
even if
market
it
doesn't
was
mean it's not a great
sports,
game.
I never see people streaming sports games.
Yeah, hardly ever. A lot of soccer, but not a lot of football or
Yeah,
stuff like that.
it's just FIFA.
Yeah. Yep. There's somebody I know that might be starting to stream some Madden, but that's for another conversation.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So
But
just
yeah,
some quick news bites from this week. I
Okay.
mean, yeah. What were you gonna say?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
There's just a few news bites from this week. There's EA announced that Jedi: The Fallen Order, they were gonna do the first gameplay live stream on June 9th. That's during E3. And a lot of people are excited about this because anyone that's ever watched E3 knows that if they're looking for gameplay of a certain game, they have to watch the entire conference of whatever developer it is that they
Yeah.
want to see the live stream of it. And the thing is, they're actually saying right now, they already released on their Twitter that it's going to stream at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So they already have slotted out when they're going to do the gameplay live streams. So you don't even have to tune in for the stuff you don't care about.
Which is nice. That's a nice welcome change to.
Right. It means you also don't have to have 20 different windows open during E3. You can just pick and choose what you want to watch. You can be like, hey, I'm going to set aside time because I really want to see this Jedi Fallen Order gameplay.
Yeah.
Which I'm excited about the game because we need a good Star Wars game. One that's not just visually breathtaking, because the last two Battlefronts, and was there another game? Actually, there has not been that many Star Wars games recently. The last two Battlefronts have just been really visually impressive, and then their gameplay has been kind of
Yeah.
They've just been Battlefield and then not as good as Battlefield.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. So this one, they're claiming it's going to be a first-person game, not online, which is crazy. That's refreshing. It's going to actually have a story, no loot boxes related to it, which this is really hard to believe with EA, but maybe the backlash they got from Battlefront 2 just decided to make them make a game that everyone appreciates. I mean, it looks like a lot of work is going into this game.
Yeah.
But that's the thing about EA. EA and Disney have so much money. They have so much money that they can put into a game like this.
Yes, they do.
So
which sometimes completely disappoints me, because you know how much money they can put into a game, and sometimes they just seem to not put that kind of money into a game.
That's why when EA did, what's the name of the game? I already forgot it. What was it? Anthem.
Yes.
When they did Anthem, as much as people hated on Anthem, I really wanted Anthem to be successful to an extent because of the ideas that it represented for EA. It was a new IP, so it was a new whole franchise. It was not based off something else. You could say they're ripping off Destiny, but it was its own thing. They were trying to do new things. It was a great looking world. It was not built off of loot boxes. Now, the only complaints that people did have about it, that's okay, not the only complaints, but one of the many complaints that people had about it was not very long in the story. Certain classes were OP versus other classes. It wasn't balanced. But things like this are just nitpicks,
Yeah. Yeah.
I just really want EA to see success from making good artistic moves rather than just seeing money from shareholder moves. There's a reason why they make a FIFA every year.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they won't make that updates. It would make so much sense if it just updated every year, right?
Yeah. But
But it makes the most money of any game for EA.
exactly.
But yeah, I would love if Fallen Order was a step in the right direction, something that was more artistic and more groundbreaking as far as graphics and story goes. Looks like it's going to have great motion capture from really good actors. There's some really good actors working in it. I forget his name, but they've got the guy from The American Shameless as the lead role. So it looks pretty good. And we're going to be getting that at E3. Be sure to tune in to that live stream because I'm hoping to be blown away by it.
Yeah, me too. That's one thing is I've wanted to play a lot of the Star Wars games. I just
Since about if it
just
wasn't
couldn't
before
hold my
2012,
interest.
yeah, if it wasn't before 2012, you haven't been missing out on much. A lot of the classic Star Wars games are from the early 90s and probably the early 2000s.
Okay.
They had like two surges of great quality where the games were as good as other games that were not licensed under Star Wars. You know, they were just good games.
Oh.
You could rip off the coding of Star Wars and some of these games would be good games, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's really what they need to see it as. I hope that they do that. They really need to make sure that Jedi Fallen Order is not just a bunch of Star Wars fan service. They need to make sure that it is a standalone good game. That if someone picked it up that didn't know anything about Star Wars, they would still be compelled by the characters and the story. And then the gameplay would not feel under that level. You know? I'm trying to think of a game. There's a game I played recently that the gameplay was like, and then everything else about it, the cinematics and the story and the voice acting was on point. To tell you the truth, that's a lot of games these days where the gameplay is not underwhelming as much as it's just something you've seen before. It's going to need a mechanic that sets it apart, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I have to say about that because they didn't really do much news on it. They just announced when they were going to do a live stream. We haven't really talked about Fallen Order, any of the rumors surrounding it. So I think on Star Wars Day was when we got our first teaser to it. So
Yeah.
that's all I know anything from.
And that's all we really got. Yeah, it was a little bit of a teaser. We didn't see anything. Well, I imagine we're going to see a great trailer and then we're going to see some really good gameplay.
Yeah, they're probably going to pick, you know how they are at E3. They're going to pick the scene that has the most HDR used.
Yep. Yep.
It's going to have the most blacks and whites in the same screen so that they can show off the texture.
Yep.
But yeah,
agree.
I hope they show some of the really good action in it. I hope it's not just a cinematic storyboard, you know?
And the thing to me is by putting out a date and a time that you're actually going to show the first gameplay live stream, to me, that shows your confidence in what you've got. And
yes,
and it makes me feel like they are going to, present everybody with something that is going to blow your freaking mind.
That even makes it sound like they're ahead of schedule because they announced that way ahead of time.
Yeah.
As much as you think people are prepared for E3, you've seen so many E3 fails that you know that not every developer is prepared for E3.
Exactly. They're not. They set their time, they set their date, they pay for their table, whatever the heck they're going to do. And they try to push their product to meet the deadline instead of developing the product and then announcing a deadline.
Right. And that is another thing that's concerning about EA. I don't know the release date on Fallen Order, but I guarantee you it's probably going to be November.
Yeah.
EA and Star Wars games are almost synonymous with Christmas season.
Yeah.
So hopefully that doesn't hurt the game because that was a major complaint, and a lot of people pointed at that with Battlefront 2. A lot of people said that it was coming out in December and that a lot of the designers were saying that they were rushing it in development near the end to get it out for the holidays. But that's true with almost any game that releases in November, Fallout 76. But I really hope that they make sure the game is good above hoping that they can get a game out for Christmas. Them having the live stream time already set is kind of encouraging because that might imply that they're well off near the end of development and they're just holding out till a Christmas release, you know?
Yeah.
Another piece of news was that George R. R. Martin, famous author and creator of Game of Thrones, is working with From Software. There was rumors about this for a while, but he finally confirmed it. That in a very ridiculous interview, I forget all the things that he said he was working on. It was something like he was working on 5 TV shows, a couple of movies, and then he randomly said, and From Software on a video game. So if you're not familiar with From Software, they do not only the Dark Souls games, but they do the Dark Soul-like games. They do the 3 Dark Souls. They do Bloodborne, which was the PlayStation Dark Soul exclusive, basically. And that new one. What's that new one called? Everybody was playing it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Holy crap. Yeah.
I
cannot believe this. My brain just froze, bro.
I remember I had trouble pronouncing it. It was, what is it called?
That's not that Japanese samurai game, right? Sekiro or whatever.
Yes, it's Sekiro. Thank you.
Shadows Die Twice or something like that.
Yeah, it's a Japanese game developer, and
it's gonna look brilliant. Then whatever they make is gonna look amazing.
Right, and that's what's cool is like when you think Game of Thrones, you think medieval, old style sword combat. Supernatural fire and stuff.
Yeah.
And you also think of being really hardcore because everything about Game of Thrones is blow your mind.
Yes.
Way more violent than you thought and way more serious than you expected. And it's something that makes you uncomfortable usually with Game of Thrones. So, I mean, it's like a no-brainer. This is like one of those pairings where it's like, who could make a great Game of Thrones game?
Yes.
And it would have to be From Software. Of course, it's going to be a hard game. That's what they're known for, is making challenging games. And it's just going to look great because if it uses the same engines that they've been using, it's just going to be exactly what we think of with Game of Thrones. And the thing is, they did not say it was going to be a Game of Thrones game. Okay. But when we think of George R. R. Martin, even if he's pinning a new franchise that's going to be a video game franchise, you could kind of strongly suggest that it's going to draw heavy influences from Game of Thrones. It might just be something that feels like it could be in the same universe, but I would feel like anyone that is backing this financially would be begging him to put the name Game of Thrones on it because it's like you're just missing out on all that free advertisement of every single mug that has been sold in a Walmart with Game of Thrones on it, you know?
Yep.
So yeah, we don't know if it's a Game of Thrones game, but I mean, if it's not, then kudos. He's designing a game that is not being withheld by previous accomplishments. But I mean, I feel like even if it's characters not from the Game of Thrones books or TV show, he would at least be like set in the universe with the title on it, you know?
Yeah.
That just seems like a no-brainer. But anyway, it's going to be revealed at E3, so we don't have to speculate too long.
No.
It's going to be pretty cool.
I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be great. Could be another ESO, man. It could be another one. Could be something
definitely.
big.
I mean, it's got to be big. They have not made a small sleeper game.
No.
Like this company From Software, they work forever on games. They wait forever. They don't look for Christmas seasons because they know that they make quality games that people will tell their friends about, and then they will purchase. They also know they make games that are so hard that you can't rent them.
Yes.
So, I mean, they're confident. They can release something in February, and it'll be one of the best-selling games of the year.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
they're just confident in their product, and I'm sure that's what George R. R. Martin sees in them.
Yep.
It's
And
just
you put
it's
the
just a
name of
great
game
pairing.
and you put the name Game of Thrones on it, man, and it's gonna get absolutely it's gonna make huge money. Huge money. Even
Yeah.
people that aren't regular gamers that are, Game of Thrones fans are going to be buying this damn game. It's just the way it is.
Yeah. And especially if it's a normal game,
Yes.
and that's not a knack at Telltale. There was a Game of Thrones Telltale series, but Telltale had their time in the sun. But Game of Thrones, the Telltale series, I think is the lowest rated Telltale game. I think it's also probably the worst selling.
Oh, wow.
It was a pretty low point in Telltale. It's kind of just an overall boring experience. I still think it's the worst Telltale game. I've played them all, and it's just boring.
Oh, man.
But yeah, I mean, so Game of Thrones doesn't just automatically sell the game. Telltale proved that. But if it is Game of Thrones plus it looks great and it plays great, it will sell.
Cool.
Couple more things in news. Mortal Kombat 11 was the first game since Mario vs. Rabbids to be the number one selling game on the Switch for a month. That was not a first party game.
Oh, wow.
So I'm not sure if you can get your head around that, but it means that in a month. So there's been games that have been the best selling game of the week, like when it initially releases, but to be the best selling game over an entire month.
Yeah, that's
It is the first third party game to outsell whatever the first party main seller was at the time. So like currently it's Smash Bros. Before it was Mario Party, and then Zelda and Mario Kart have always been up there. Those titles have always been in the top 5 on the Switch in a month. But the thing is, Mario vs. Rabbids, although it was Ubisoft, it still had Mario in it. It was still kind of local. Mortal Kombat 11 is the first time that a completely non-Nintendo related title has been on there. You know?
yeah.
So what is encouraging about that is, I'm not sure if you keep up with the Switch too much, but the Switch is always getting titles later than other consoles.
Yeah.
Developers
I did
like
notice that.
WB, Ubisoft, all these EA, they think about the Switch last. They don't really think that it's an important place to port, but with WB owning Mortal Kombat and having a debut that was number one on the Switch, they're going to see that as really good revenue. WB may be launching games on the Switch rather than waiting a few months. And it's been disappointing to Switch owners. Not everyone in the world can have multiple consoles. Switch owners, if you have a Switch, that's the only thing you got. I'm trying to think of an example. Was it, I think, Wolfenstein? I think the last Wolfenstein may have released a couple of months after its initial release on the Switch. And by that time, do you really want to pay $60 for a game that all your friends have already beat? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And that's the other problem is games are expensive on Switch. So to wait a couple of months for a game to come out and then it's still full price, that's rough.
It's
you know?
weak. It's weak is what it is, because they're taking advantage of a small group of people, as if you ask me. They really are.
The Switch is on such a rise. I don't know. I need to look up the numbers. I'm not sure if there are more Switch. There probably are more Switch owners than Xbox. Actually, that's a no-brainer. Of course there are. So that market is major. When these companies are developing their software, the Switch is becoming more and more important every day. It's about to have its best year of the life of the console. This Christmas season is probably going to blow out all the sales from last year because we'll probably have a new Pokemon game, and it's probably going to be the number one holiday game. Even if it doesn't come out near Christmas, even if it came out like this summer, it would still be the number one game for the holidays.
Yeah, I think Pokemon's going to tear it up. That game's gonna be crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, that's just a little bit of news. It's really encouraging for those third-party developers, especially Switch owners. If you want to play more games like PlayStation, Xbox have those larger libraries, it's encouraging to see games like Mortal Kombat just break records.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, this isn't really. This is kind of a sad piece of news, but not really. Do you even remember the Ouya?
Yeah. From Razer. Yep.
Oh well, it wasn't originally Razer. Razer bought them, and I didn't even know that they bought them.
Well, it
So,
started as it was a Kickstarter thing that was happening about but yeah, I knew that Razer had acquired them.
Yeah, I didn't know that Razer acquired them. Apparently, they also acquired their servers and all of it in it. Razer put out an announcement that on June 25th, the Ouya servers would be shutting down.
Yep.
And basically, they said if you had currency on the console, that you needed to spend it and buy whatever games you can now because you won't be able to use it on anything pretty soon.
Digital store will be gone.
Yeah, it's a sad little piece of history. The Ouya, it was innovative for what it was. Ultimately, it's just a really bad NVIDIA Shield.
Yeah. It really is, man.
It had an epically terrible controller. If you're a listener and you don't know what the Ouya is, do a little research and get some chuckles on it. It's kind of sad to someone like me who enjoys more competition in the marketplace. I enjoy indie developers. I like Kickstarters. I like things that are startups. I like this stuff. I like things that are aimed at making a gaming experience better for the consumer. The Ouya's big thing was that every title on it was going to be free for a while. Either they would be trials or completely free. They wanted it to be so that you could demo anything you wanted, and then if you wanted to buy it, you could buy it. That was an interesting concept, but not everybody got on board. So if you couldn't get a developer on board with that, you would lose that developer, which would make your console have less on it. So they really were lacking in games for a while.
Yeah.
They really did try hard, though. I really cannot say that enough. It was a Kickstarter, and it was completely independent people, and they were trying really hard to make something that was competitive. And it's just disappointing in so many senses. There was the whole thing about the controller. If you've seen that controller, is the most uncomfortable thing you'll ever hold in your life. It's rough. Did you ever see that there was an epic fail when it was announced? The CEO of Ouya, the main woman that was in charge of it, that was the voice of the console. She did a preview to very educated gamers. And these gamers were familiar with simple things like the PS4 controller. And she said that the Ouya controller was the first controller ever that would utilize a touchpad on it. This was after the PS4 was out. And the person that she was presenting the product to on the program was like, the PS4 controller has that. And then she first said, well, it's not like this. And then he was like, well, it kind of is. And then she was like, well, oh yeah, that's cool. And we're doing it. And it was just mind-boggling that there was this Kickstarter by this brand that was trying to make a console to be competitive with 3 other consoles on the market at the time.
Yeah.
And they didn't know how a PS4 controller had a touchpad. It's just mind-blowing.
It's sad because
this is the person you're sending out to do interviews about your product.
That does no research about the competitor at all.
Right, and that can a lot of people joked about that's why you can come up with such a bad controller.
Yeah.
As the Ouya.
Oh man.
I'm sorry, this is still on the Ouya, but there was a company that I may have been Power A. I think Power A may have done it. You can get an Ouya style controller that's the same shape and size and button layout for a Nintendo Switch. And they just recently made this. So if you're a huge fan of the Ouya's controller, and that is the reason you bought into the product, you could actually get one for your Switch. And
Yeah. If you
it's
enjoy
basically-
being uncomfortable and
right. Yeah, I mean, if
developing
you want to pay
carpal
money
tunnel.
to have the worst experience of your Switch's life, you can do that. It's insane. The Ouya will go down in history. It has its place in history.
Yeah.
It's a sad little story. I didn't even know they were bought by Razer, but there you
Yeah.
go. They're
Yeah,
shutting it down. And yes, the main reaction to this Ouya thing is people are like, their servers are still up. But yeah, there's it's the final nail in the coffin of the Ouya. We shouldn't ever hear about it again. I think this is the last time it's going to make the news.
probably.
Unless we find out that someone involved in it did a bunch of embezzlement or something.
Yeah, they'll probably have, one last shout out on June 25th when it's over with.
Yeah, the two people that still use an Ouya will put on their Twitter, sad face.
Yeah. Well, speaking of things that could possibly die or kill you,
Are you
apparently
talking
there's
about me?
No, there's apparently a gaming disorder now, and it's official because it's on the World Health Organization's lists of diseases. I was reading about this, and I was telling you about it a little bit earlier, which is absolutely ridiculous. They have it called gaming disorder, which is considered an addictive behavior disorder. And basically, because it's the related article or code is called ICD-11. I know that's a little technical, but I have to use that as an example. And the reason why is because gaming disorder is listed after gambling disorder in that document, and it uses the disorder's language almost word for freaking word, replacing gambling with gaming. So basically, to me, this is it's just a
So they just did a find and replace and just added a BL into it.
They did a Bethesda is what they did. And
God.
they took something word for word and used it as something else. And what's messed up is that this takes effect on January 1st, 2022, by the way. So it's not just instantaneous, but it just feels like it's just another thing that they want to jump on to say, oh yeah, this is going to make you sick and this is bad for you, blah, 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 blah.
So you think they're putting it there just to make basically parents say that it's unhealthy?
Yeah, I think that basically,
because I was really hoping to get tax breaks.
There's a bunch of people pushing back on this. Obviously, the gaming industry hates it, and but it's
So I can't
kind
get
of
a handicap
reckless
license
in a way.
plate because I'm got gaming disorder.
Well, they're mixing this up with like stuff like depression and anxiety, and you know what I'm saying? It's dangerous to say that gaming, being addicted to gaming, I guess, is what they're saying, is that, it's as bad as having a social anxiety or being in severe depression or being bipolar. It makes absolutely no sense.
You can be addicted to anything.
Yes, you can. But to classify it as that kind of a disorder, to me, it's medically irresponsible and it's dangerous. I think that you don't have enough evidence to justify that. You have no evidence in my mind to justify putting it in that kind of a medical thing and having the World Health Organization classify it as a disorder. I think it's the dumbest thing to spend money on, and it just
I think this
sense.
actually kind of opens a decent conversation. So what makes an addiction bad? Since you can be addicted to anything, what makes an addiction bad? What makes gambling addiction bad? The fact that you will be in poverty and be broke and lose your family, and little Timmy will say he doesn't love you anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there could be. I'm not sure if it's implying that maybe some addictions are more inherently addictive. Maybe it's saying that gaming is like gambling in the sense of once you start, you can't stop, and that's most people from the get go. Because like most people that play with a model train once are probably not going to be like, oh my god, I need to devote my entire life to model trains. It's
Yes.
not like it immediately puts this surge through your body. And that's something that people would describe with gambling, you know, and a disorder like that. But yeah, things like depression are medical. So yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Are they saying that gambling is medical?
Well, they're saying that gambling is a disorder because they have that
Because
on their
it's
list
what, a mental
of disorders.
disorder? Is that what we're saying?
I don't know exactly what they're saying. It's gambling disorder was formerly pathological gambling, so I would believe that would make it a mental disorder. But gambling
That
disorder
sounds like what you tell people to make it sound better.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
a pathological gambler. What does that mean?
here's the thing though, okay? The gaming disorder is listed directly after gambling disorder. It's considered the same kind of thing. So technically, yeah, that would be a mental disorder. But what they're trying to figure out right now is, was the WHO, World Health Organization, pressured by Asian member states to do this? Because China apparently and South Korea are like at a policy level, as a government policy on what is that called? Public health matters. That basically they're dealing with it on a state level. So basically, was there pressure put on these guys to make it this? And if so, you got all these. Here's my point to all of it. You got all these parents who are convinced, absolutely convinced, that kids who play video games are addicted to video games. And they a lot of them, yes, there is some concern with some kids who play video games way too much. I believe that there is a healthy balance in life. Okay, you have to have that. You need to get outside and have some sunshine and breathe some freaking fresh air.
But do you?
But what, do I do that?
No. I don't believe that argument. I'm going to stop you there because I feel like the future, we're going to have less and less on hand. I know a lot of people disagree with me, but like the kid that stays indoors all day and plays video games, he's probably going to be the same kid that's indoors all day behind a computer screen doing customer service. I mean,
it could be.
He's going to find a job that has nothing to do with his skin getting darker.
No, and I'm not talking about going out and getting a tan or anything like that. I think it's okay to go outside once in a while. I'm not saying that you need to go outside and rock climb or anything like that. That's not my point. I'm not saying that kind of thing, but you do have to walk outside sometimes. That's just all there is to it, okay? I mean, you have to go outside.
You can't make me.
Unless you have that disorder where you're staying inside all the time. Well, I don't know. Let's call the WHO and find out what that one's listed under.
Well, that's a good disorder to pair with your gaming disorder if you have it.
Yes.
Just say you can't walk outside.
But you're going to have these parents who just automatically think that everybody's convinced or everybody's addicted to these games. And this, I honestly think, is just going to make those fears and reactions worse. I think it's going to make people, go off the deep end, and we're going to see a lot more of those crap arguments in the news about how video games are bad for you. I don't think they are. I think video games, like you said, are the future, and it's going to create our next generation or several generations of people who work in different industries and even in the military. I mean, the military picks these guys up and say that because some of these drones are flown with a fucking Xbox controller now. So it's like these guys are some of the best drone pilots and warriors that are digital warriors that we have nowadays. And how did they get that way? From playing video games. So you can't see. There's going to be
how do you
good and bad in all
design
of it.
really good tech? You get Microsoft. It's the same thing.
Exactly.
It's the Tony Stark selling to both sides thing all over again.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess you could say that.
No, it's just to say
I
it's a
just think it's
disorder,
stupid. Yeah.
it's dumb. But then, like, what do you define as a addiction? I
Yeah.
think the big things are, what do you define as an addiction? Because you could be addicted to anything. Because if you take a kid's video games away and you never give him a video game, you never give him a cell phone, you never give him a tablet, he's going to be addicted to early in life, trading cards, throwing rocks, hitting
Yeah.
his sister with a stick,
Yeah.
and then puberty, jerking it. I mean, he's going to be addicted to something, and it's always going to be like constant. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, to me, it's just a rushed and reckless junk diagnosis. They're acting stupid. It's a political move, is what it is. It's giving them a new thing to argue about, to put out there. To me, it's just crap that they put out in order to get us to talk about something instead of looking at everything else that we need to be looking at, man.
I do think I am being hypocritical, because I am saying that I'm very against this idea that it's an addiction, because I could believe that you can get addicted to anything, but I am very against letting children gamble,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
because I do know that is an addiction. I do know that you can put that into their core values very early, and that can just wreck them. But
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess I kind of get where they're coming from. If they are viewing it like gambling, if they're putting it at the same level, then I can see why they would be this adamant about it. But I think that's just where the mistake is.
Well, I think also maybe part of their putting it in there has to do with what we talked about. Was it last week or the week before, where people who pay to play, pay to win?
Right.
And maybe some of it is coming from that, because there can be an addiction to buying those chests and whatnot. So,
yeah, I guess that could be a reason for lumping it in with gambling.
yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about this more. We'll have to get like an actual doctor on, I guess. To talk about disorders, because
That would be a good idea.
yeah, and he could probably diagnose my crippling depression. Should be fine. Speaking of crippling depression, I'm going to use this as a segue, Mike. You can't stop me.
Absolutely.
Speaking of crippling depression, there's a new console on the market from the creators of the great indie title, which if you have not played it, go play it today, Firewatch. It is a wonderful game. They have been, and they are very close to releasing a new console called Playdate, and it is a odd one, to say the least. It is basically a very thin Game Boy, non-color. It uses black and white as its two colors. It is not front-lit. It is not backlit. So it's going to run on very little power. I don't yet know if it's going to be chargeable, or if it's going to have a way to crank its charge up, because it has a little crank on the side. And the first thing I thought of was, is this a handheld that you can crank the power so that it doesn't ever need to be charged? Is this like a completely energy efficient handheld? And I was freaking out about that. But then everything I read about it did not advertise that. So I'm not thinking that's actually it. The main video that they've put out on it, the crank, it basically looks like there's a fishing pole crank on the right side of it. So there's obviously going to be a fishing game, and that's going to make sense. But there's a game in the demo where they show some characters moving, and when you crank it forward, the characters walk forward, and when you crank it back towards you, they walk backwards. So it's going to come with a bunch of built-in games that I assume are designed by the Firewatch team, which is a great indie team. I forget what their actual name is. They just made Firewatch. That's not actually their name. They're going to make all these built-in games that are going to be very, very, very probably high quality, and they're going to be gimmicky with the crank, I'm sure. I'm sure that's all going to have to do with the crank. But there's basically a D-pad, an A, B button, and the crank, and that's it. And it looks really small. The one big thing that is going to hurt it, though, is they've announced that it's starting at $150.
Huh.
And that's a lot. Now, they have come out with statements because people have been complaining about the amount that they initially said, and they've basically been honest with people. They are not distributing a lot. It's not going to be well manufactured, so they're not getting the cheapest prices on parts. So they're selling it for what they can sell it for, and they've put all their own money into it, and they said that they really didn't want to do a Kickstarter on it. They said they've seen so many failed projects from video game Kickstarters that they wanted to just put money out of their own pocket to make this product. And I can commend them for that. They did no fundraising for this. There's no big company behind it either. So they have a steep price tag. I hope that comes down. I'm probably not going to pay 150 for it, but it's a nice looking little thing. It's pretty nifty. If you've ever seen any modern handhelds that are basically clones of Game Boy Advance and Game Boy or Game Boy Color, they don't look anything like this. This thing looks really sleek. It looks like it has a great glass screen on it. It looks really smooth on the edges. The buttons look like they have good action on them. It just looks like a really great product. I would be surprised if you held it and it like felt cheap because I mean it's 150. This thing has to be like actually decently made, and I think that's really important in an era with the Switch as a competitor because the Switch is just it's like a top of the line tablet. So if you're going to make another little handheld that's a little bit simpler, you got to have quality, and it looks really nice. I'm not sure. Did you see any of the demos of it, Mike?
No, huh?
There's just like a little short clip. It's not really much, but it looks pretty cool. There's one more thing I was going to say about it. Oh, the games on it. So it comes with all the games built in,
Oh, wow.
and randomly, games will release at different times. Now, people are going to hack these immediately when they get out, and they're going to have all the games available. But it's interesting that they're going this route. So when you buy
Yes.
it, it's going to have like 1, 2, maybe 4 games, but then randomly more games will be added. So that's their way of releasing games. It's kind of
Huh.
weird.
Yeah.
So all the games are built in. They could flip a switch and give you all of them. I'm not sure if they're going to actually go through with this plan on release date. But as of right now, that's what they're going with. They're going with this weird thing of them all being preloaded, but you can't access them until certain DLC updates.
That's a strange way to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really weird. I think it's because it's the way it's made. It's not going to have an interface that can connect to Wi-Fi and download very well. So it's basically it may just Bluetooth to your phone or something, and then it activates the game with an activation app or something. That's all I can think of because they said that it's not going to have actually download updates. It's just going to activate things over time unless it has an internal clock maybe. Maybe it has a clock built in that after you buy it around December 1st, another game will come out. That's possible. I really don't know.
Huh.
That's all I have to say about that. Not much information on the Playdate. It looks like a little fun little console. If you got money just flowing out of your pockets, pick it up. They probably need the support. If I say pick it up, it hasn't released yet. I think they're going to. I think they're going to probably talk about it at E3. I think the Firewatch team. I think they said they were going to be there. I don't know when though. I don't have that info. And that's all I have to say about that. Do I have anything else in news? Okay, yeah, one more thing. The freaking Sonic movie being pushed back. You heard about the Sonic movie getting redesigned, right?
Yeah.
So basically, the history of the Sonic movie is, was it a year ago? Yes, a year ago, they released a poster for the upcoming Sonic movie, and people thought that his calves and feet look horrifying, and it became a meme, and people just started making fun of the design of Sonic. Then, around December, they released another teaser poster where people were more infuriated by the design and memed it some more, and then memes and memes and memes, and people kept making fun of it. And then just about a month and a half ago, they released the first teaser for a November release date, and the internet just like completely lost their shit about it,
Yeah,
and
they did.
then started petitioning against it and stuff. And within days, the director of the film tweeted out that they were going to redesign Sonic in the movie,
Oh
and
yeah.
that it was like hashtag gotta fix fast or something stupid. And the thing is, everybody got what they wanted. Everybody
Yes.
wanted them to redesign it, and they said they were going to redesign it. They said that it would also be still releasing in November. So everybody should be happy, right? No, the internet then got mad that they changed their mind, and the internet started making this crazy big deal about them working their animators too hard in crunch time, and then them having to release the movie too fast, which is a real thing to worry about. But the funny part is the masses got what they wanted, and then they complained again about getting what they wanted. So
Yeah.
now the movie's getting pushed off till February, which isn't a big deal. It wasn't going to make money in November. Like, seriously, Sonic the Hedgehog is not a Christmas juggernaut animated movie. There will
No.
be a Disney movie out at that time that will blow it out of the water. It makes way more sense for this movie to be a spring movie that is like a sleeper hit.
Yes.
It doesn't make any sense coming out in November. When I first saw the November release date, I was like, this thing is going to make no money. Not only does it look terrible, but it was releasing in a time slot that like is going to be full of blockbusters. You know, Star Wars comes out probably like 2 weeks after its original release date. So, yeah, it's going to do way better. Number one, they're going to have a redesign. So, people will appreciate that Paramount actually cares, and it will be in February, so people will appreciate that the animators actually get to see their families.
Yes.
And it'll be in February, so it won't have much competition. Now, the funniest part is it's releasing February 14th. It's releasing on Valentine's Day.
Oh my God.
So, I mean, yeah, set your calendars and get your chocolates, and you got a Valentine's date next year for Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh, that's gonna be corny.
And when she asks why you showed up to her house in a Sonic the Hedgehog t-shirt with blue shorts, just act like there's no big deal, and then just be surprised at the theater. Just be like, oh my God, is Sonic out?
Hey, I won't care as long as she leaves the wig and the shoes on. I'm okay.
As long as she ends the night with saying, gotta go fast.
Well, that would
It'd be appreciated once in a while.
that would go well for me if she appreciated speed.
We're not talking about the drug, don't worry.
We've taken a horrible turn.
I think all our
taken a
episodes are
horrible
going to end with this, where we start out professional, and then we get a flow, and then we end with...
They see how we really are.
yeah, it just turns into the gutter. But I mean, it's more of the reward for the person that's listened so long, because I don't think anyone wants professionalism.
Yeah.
No. Maybe we should just have a couple of beers before we start. That way, it's
That
just
would work.
unprofessional from the beginning.
That would work.
Anyway. Anyway, that's really all the news I have for this week.
Yeah, man.
I was thinking about talking about how do you pronounce his name? Is it TFU? I don't keep up with this guy.
Tifu. Yeah.
Is it Tifu?
Yeah.
That's
That's
I
what
thought it
people
was-
have been.
I thought
asked.
it was FU. I thought it was FU. I thought they were trying to say the fuck you or the fuck you.
The fuck you expect? Yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna actually dig into that a little deeper.
I just think there's gonna be more info too by next week, because
Yes.
it kind of just broke this week, and I feel like there's not enough information yet. It's a lot of people just saying he said, she said. So we'll have a story on that next week.
Absolutely.
sure.
Yeah, I will have a lot of information on that, and hopefully some
Yeah.
actual context as to what the hell is going on, because it looks like a big mess, is what it is.
But yeah, yeah, I think it's actually getting outside of gaming too, that story.
Yes,
But that's fine. We get out of gaming sometimes. But yeah, I think we should wrap it up for the week, but let's try to get some more indie games played this week, and
Oh, absolutely,
we'll
yes.
talk about them.
There's a couple I'm looking at that I want to play. Like I said, one of them is called Dauntless, and I will be talking about that. It looks like it is going to be.
You can tell
very
people where you're going to
surprising
stream
game.
it.
Oh yeah.
Not everybody knows that you stream.
Yeah, I'll be streaming on DLive. If you check out the Facebook page, I'm actually gonna figure out how to add some buttons to all those to Josiah's different ventures and mine also, and that way you'll be able to see them. And also, we're going to be able to put up some event notices as to when our podcasts are going to be happening.
Yeah, that sounds good. I can't wait till we can get to the point where we can do some like co-streams of some games too throughout the week. That'd be really
That
cool.
would be cool. Yeah, absolutely. That would be really cool. Actually, that'd be kind of fun if we pick, one popular indie game and jump on it together and see what it's about.
Yeah, it'd just be me screaming the whole time if we do horror though.
That would be fun, man. That would be fun.
I'll just be your scream track. I think that'll work.
That would be great.
Okay, well, hope you all enjoyed this week's episode. We didn't really run as long as we usually do. But we'll catch y'all next week with more gaming news.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Have a good week.
All right, we'll see you guys.